Welcome back to CryptosRUs. I am George. We're all George. So let's talk about what's going on with the market, what's going on with Bitcoin and the alts, which are actually showing strength today. But there's more to talk about. A lot of macro stuff to worry about. And let's talk about the next move that no one expects to happen. Let's do it, guys. Let's do it. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are starting out today, unfortunately, a little bit under 110. 109.7. Not a great place to be, but not horrible either. Although we have fallen quite a lot within the last few days from 117. That was the peak of last Friday to where we are now. However, today, alts are showing strength. You got ETH that's above 4,500 once again. You got SOL that's coming to 190. And then you got others that are doing quite well. And there's one in particular that is skyrocketing today that I will talk about. So let's get started. The US market is a little bit mixed. NASDAQ is in the green. Wall Street is basically trying to digest if this is good or not. I talked about this extensively last night. It was breaking news last night. Basically, Trump signed an executive order to fire one of the Fed governors, Lisa Cook, and she's not leaving. You know, I was wondering what would happen. Basically, she's like, no, he has no authority to fire me. I'm not going to be bullied. I'm just going to continue to do my job. So does that mean she's going to actually go into office today? Is she going to be let in? Does her credentials still work? No one knows. But then again, I mean, she has a point. White House and president, they're supposed to be independent from the Fed. And based on some acts from 1913, the president cannot fire any Fed members unless it's for cause. But what does for cause mean? Most people interpret it if they do something bad, you know, obviously, that relates to their job. But in this case, this is something else. Supposedly she forged some mortgage documents or something like that, but she hasn't been charged for it. So again, I think Wall Street's trying to digest, is this a good thing or not? Because with her gone, Trump gets to appoint someone else, and that's two appointees on top of the people that are there, and we know Powell's leaving, and basically it gives him like control of the Fed, right? And people are like, well, that could be good because that leads to a lot of rate cuts. But it could also be bad because maybe when they need to make the hard decisions of, let's say, hiking in the future, they're not going to do so. You know, we don't quite know. Anyways, that's the big news. So we'll see what happens. Is she going to be escorted out? Is she going to be allowed into her building or office or wherever? No one really knows at this point. This is first of its kind. First of its kind. Also, there's new tariffs on chips and countries that has digital tax. Of course, this relates to NVIDIA, who is reporting tomorrow. Wall Street and NASDAQ specifically is going to be carried by NVIDIA tomorrow. Hopefully, they report good earnings. It's going to lift up tech, and we will continue to move forward. All right, what else? I also saw this. This is not good. Our deficit increased by $1+ trillion in the last 48 days. That's approximately $21 billion per day. This is how much our government is spending. Don't know why. It's not broken down. We just know that it went up by $1 trillion. This is the reason why the big beautiful bill was controversial, because it actually, even though there are cuts in there, but mostly for the rich, it also increases the debt ceiling by $5 trillion or $4 or $5 trillion. There's a lot of spending going on, a lot of spending. So all this stuff about the Fed and monetary policy and all that stuff, that's all band-aids. Ultimately, the spending doesn't stop. The printing doesn't stop. The borrowing doesn't stop. The interest on the debt doesn't stop. And it's going to one day crush our economy. So before that happens, you have to opt into something better. And arguably, of course, the best asset to hold is Bitcoin. Now, what's surprising is I thought for sure we would see outflow from the ETFs yesterday. No, we actually had pretty good inflow, 219. We broke the streak of 6 consecutive days of outflow, and we had an inflow day. So obviously yesterday, the price action from yesterday was not from Wall Street. Because if you look at Ethereum, it's even higher, 444 million. So Wall Street was actually taking advantage, especially BlackRock. They're like, oh man, great time to be buying. We're going to be buying. So obviously yesterday's price action manipulation was from those giant whales. The ones that sold Bitcoin and ones that liquidated a whole bunch of people, right? Those was like the insiders that were messing around, not Wall Street. Wall Street was actually pretty good about it. Actually, they didn't give to the fear and they actually bought. So that's actually really, really good. That's what we want to see. Some people do understand. Seems like sometimes everyone just follows the herd, but you know what? Those that understand, they will load up when everyone else is panicking, right? That's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. So, 124,000, was that the top for Bitcoin? Well, based on my intuition and based on my experience from previous cycles, I would say no. But if you don't want to believe that, you could look at a lot of metrics that we have. Okay, there's like so many metrics out there. MVRV, PUL, multiple, rainbow chart, pi cycle top. You got all these that have measured Bitcoin. Now we have gone through so many cycles, have seen a lot. Like back in 2013, you couldn't really rely on the metrics that much. 2017, not as much, a little bit better, but not as much because you only have 2 cycles to go on. 2021, that's 3 cycles in. Now we're 4 cycles in. So you got to figure these are pretty darn accurate. And if you look at some of these, we're just not near top. Okay? We're not near the top. You could just see it. We're not in the red, as you can see, right? So bottom line is 124, not our top. We will get back to it. And we will break through and keep on going. Okay, it always happens. We go through these periods with Bitcoin, and you know what? We may go down. We may have a small correction. We may get stagnant for a while, and then we just continue forward. Boom. All of a sudden, right? It always happens. And you got David Bailey, who is the CEO of Bitcoin Magazine, Bitcoin Conference, and he's a Trump advisor, and he has another company called Nakamoto. Basically, he's like, bear market won't happen for several years, which is kind of weird because either you have it or you don't. But basically, for him, he's like, well, after this cycle, we're not going to have a crypto winter because there are so many institutions involved and they're not going to all dump. I have that sentiment. I just think that after the cycle will just continue to slowly move upwards, but we may have months of staleness or little dips here and there, but I don't think we're going to have the same kind of 80% correction we had in previous cycles. That's basically what he's saying, but I don't know why he's saying several years. Not like it's going to be delayed. It's just that would be a new trend. But I agree with that. I agree. There's just too many buyers, too many holders at this point. Unless you have all the mega whales dumping all simultaneously. But even then, the Wall Street companies and institutions, they're loading up, like I just showed you with the ETFs. So eventually, the supply is just going to be even up. Even if the mega whales dump, which not all of them are. Here's a company, Boya, purchased another 290 Bitcoin. You have now the UAE government that holds close to $1 billion worth of Bitcoin. You know, it's just like endless, right? Yesterday I covered MicroStrategy, MetaPlanet, and Mixer Point, and all these companies. They're buying weekly now. Before, you know, we periodically would hear like, oh, okay, once a month you got some big purchases. Now it's like every day and every week you have thousands of Bitcoin being bought and removed from supply. This is why we will continue forward. And we may mimic gold. We may mimic gold. Gold was stagnant for decades. Yeah, decades. Until it broke out. Bitcoin, fortunately, moves a little quicker than that. But if you actually compare the two, it looks pretty similar. And as more people get involved, the supply continues to diminish, supply and demand, you get the picture, right? Gold busted out from 2,000 and went to over 3,000. That's a 50% jump just within the last year or so, right? We still got a lot more to go too for Bitcoin for this cycle. Anyways, we only got 3 more months left. We're heading into September soon. This month flew by so quickly, so quickly. September, we're going to get that rate cut. And if you're wondering, we're still following them to money supply, although we're a little down. According to this, we should be up to like 140 already. We haven't quite hit that next leg up. We were on our way there, and then some of the macro scares, okay, brought us down. That PPI inflation reading from last week, you know, if we didn't have that, we'd probably be at the 140 mark right now, you know, but we got reset a little bit. But it's okay. Sometimes we're off a little bit. But then eventually we catch up once again. So we're actually going to catch up to the global M2 money supply. And that will put Bitcoin above $200,000. That's where a lot of people think we will still end up being. Right? Bitcoin moves unexpectedly sometimes. That's why no one really expects what's next. And here's another one that's just projecting, okay, volatility and breakout times. And we're in that breakout time. We just we haven't seen that huge breakout, but sure, slow and steady movement upwards. Maybe that's just how it's going to be. If we have no crypto winter, we just continue to go slowly upwards like this over time without seeing the big parabolic jump. That's okay, as long as the alts are doing well. And we're seeing that. Tom Lee's Bitmine, I don't know how he's getting so much money. He's buying ETH at a crazy level. I mean, he's buying it at a crazy pace, I should say. Just yesterday, I saw that it was estimated he has like 6 billion. I mean, he's just buying billions per week now. He may exceed Sailor's stockpile soon. I don't know how he's getting so much money, but one of the reasons why Ether is so strong because he continues to buy billions per week. And others like ETFs, like yesterday, $443 million in one single day. Look at the last 3 days. That's already over $1 billion. People are loading up right now. But you know what? Not just ETH either. Pantera Capital, one of the biggest investment firms out there, they're going to create the largest corporate Solana holder with 1.25 billion. So they're getting involved. And we already have Sol Treasury companies. But this is going to be a new thing. We hear a lot now about companies that have nothing to do with crypto all of a sudden become a crypto treasury company. Out of the blue. This is actually a new thing that you got to thank Saylor for. And that's their entire purpose, is just to acquire more crypto for the treasury. It's actually insane if you think about it. It really is. But anyways, yeah, there's going to be a lot more of that. Last few things. A lot of ETFs coming. We know that. Deadlines got pushed, but most likely approval is coming soon, and they're going to be trading in October. Chainlink, which has actually been doing pretty well, they might get one. We know Sol and XRP are going to get one for sure. Cardano, AVAX, Sui, quite possibly. And then you got some outliers like Doge and Litecoin and a few others that may be getting theirs. But Chainlink could be one of them. Wouldn't be a bad one. And right now, XRP, their futures contract hit 1 billion in open interest. It's the fastest ever. It's not a spot ETF, it's futures, but it shows you the appetite for XRP. XRP Army never goes away. No matter how bad it got, XRP Army stayed strong. So I'm pretty sure when spot ETFs come out, it's going to do very well. Very well. And the last thing I'll just mention is this. Trump Media, Crypto.com, and Yorkville, I don't know who Yorkville they are, they decided to start CRO Treasury. I talked about a lot of these treasuries. So they're going to put $6.42 billion in there, and that's roughly 19% of supply. That's a large amount. That's almost 20%, 1/5 of the supply being held by these three companies. Obviously, Crypto.com is going to hold a large amount. That's their own coin. But Trump Media getting involved, and I don't know who Yorkville, America Digital are, but this is the reason why they jumped up like 20% today. Yeah, good for them. Good for them. So right now, still kind of mixed. Still kind of mixed. People still bracing for, I guess, I don't know, next move. Not a whole lot of movement today. Would love to see Bitcoin gain some strength back and climb back. But in the meantime, we got some greens. Yesterday was just not good for alts, but you know, a little recovery today. Coinbase is still down today. Yeah, overall it's kind of a mixed day right now. All right, let's do some Q&A. Looking at, let's see, the liquidation level here. Looks like we got a couple. If we go to the downside, it'll be 109.1 and maybe, yeah, 109, 108.9. If we go down a little bit, we may hit like 108.9 and bounce off of there. It does seem like that's the way we're going. But on the upside, we got 111, 111.2, 111.5, you know, a lot of levels to liquidate on the short side leading up to 112. So we're either heading to like 108 or 112 today. And we could hit both. These market makers, they tend to go both ways. There's no big macro news today. I don't see anything. Tomorrow is the big one with NVIDIA, and a lot of people are going to be looking at that. Douglas Connell, appreciate that. Was the XRP credit card a nothing burger? I mean, it's a credit card, so if you want to get a credit card that rewards you an XRP, go ahead. Yeah, I had CRO pulled up. That move was out of nowhere. Yeah, it's up 22% today. Basically, that means 20% of the supply is locked up. But doesn't mean that they're not going to sell, but most likely they're not. Lazaro says, freaking guy buys OTC, but dumps 34K on spot. Great. Well, to be fair, he didn't do that. He was a very, very, very early buyer. I think Satoshi era. So back then, I doubt he bought OTC. He probably bought from, what's that exchange that went under? Mount Gox. Sergio says, it's the worst bull market in history. It is until it isn't. Okay. Just keep in mind, we're at 110,000. And the last cycle top was 69,000. So we have gone up quite a lot. But I can see your point with the alts. But once we hit altcoin season, you're not going to think so anymore. Philippines introduced legislation to buy 10K Bitcoin, according to Tom. That's fantastic. So we may have another sovereign state that's loading up. That's always good. There's no way to slice it, Lazaro. It's a bad situation for the market. Clearly, it was done to manipulate. It's not just simple profit taking. He did it on a Sunday with low liquidity and out of the blue all at once. So it's obviously he did it because he wanted to drive markets lower, right? But hey, he earned it. He bought low and he's selling high. He can do whatever the hell he wants with his Bitcoin. But obviously there was some other motive behind it. Please tell me your opinion on the worst case scenario where the floor of Bitcoin is. Worst case scenario? I don't know. I don't see it, but if we have something truly, truly, truly bad, or we get no rate hikes, no rate cuts, I mean, I don't know, the market starts dumping to hell, can we get back to 90s or 80s? Yeah, I could see that, but I just don't see any scenario that's going to get us to that point. I mean, things would have to get really bad. Really, really bad. And you got to get a lot of whales to start dumping, or Larry Fink starts dumping, or Sailor starts dumping. Like, it has to be, like, really bad. But I don't see that. What if we think there's a continued market for years, and what happens if it does end February and things keep dropping? Nothing happens. So you either have to decide then, are we going to full-blown crypto winter, or it just picks up again. We have seen many times this cycle where we drop down and come back up, right? Even in the 2021 cycle, let's not forget, we went from 64,000 down to 28,000. Everyone thought the cycle was over. And then what happened? Then months later, I mean, we went back to 69,000. We had a 50% drop. That's like us right now falling to $60,000, below 69,000, and coming back to where we are and breaking higher. That would be the equivalent of that. Like, think about how many people would be like, I'm done if Bitcoin dropped to $60,000 right now. Dr. Genocide, big super chat. Appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you for that. RD Pro Sticks. Is Polygon and Litecoin dead? They're not dead, but low activity, low momentum. So, yeah. Just curious, this is a side note, this has nothing to do with crypto, but how many of you guys own rental properties? Like you own, you know, a 4 flat or a 10 flat or something like that? Because I found out something very interesting yesterday because I was looking over ways to deal with my taxes, and I found something new that you could take advantage of. So I'm curious how many of you guys actually have rental property. Seems like a lot of you guys do. Randy does, Jackson does, Emmy does, Yo Daddy, Joe Potter said I did until divorce. All right, so here's the thing I learned. With a big, beautiful bill, there's one thing that really helps. So outside of the structure, which is just like the walls and everything, you still have to depreciate things over a 27.5% lifetime, right? So you just take whatever it's worth, divide by 27.5, and you can depreciate that. But there's other stuff on the inside and stuff on the outside, like landscaping, driveway, inside appliances, furniture, lighting, electricity, plumbing, fixture stuff. They have a smaller depreciation time. Some are like 7 years, some 10 years, some 15 years. But thanks to the big beautiful bill, all those could be accelerated depreciated immediately, meaning that you could depreciate them on day one 100%. You don't have to wait the 7 years or 10 years or 15 years. So that's roughly like 20 to 30% of the cost of the rental home, which is huge. It's huge. So here's a way that I figured out. A lot of you guys are in the upper tax bracket and you want to save some money on taxes. So you buy a rental unit, right? Let's say it's a whatever unit. You put 25% down, right? And immediately you could take 25% of the deductions. So it's like a 1-to-1 almost. And even though you're still putting that money, now you own those homes. It's crazy. It's crazy. Accelerated depreciation is like the best thing ever. It didn't work like that before, but the big beautiful bill enabled it. So that's a new thing that's happening now. So you gotta thank Trump for that. Paulo asked about, is Chainlink the most undervalued alt right now? And I would say no, not the most, but it is undervalued. Yeah, owner holding it back, there's nothing wrong with that. You still get cash flow, but mostly you get tax deference. Okay, and with real estate, you have something called what? The 131 rule or something, so that if you need to sell it, as long as you get into another property that's more expensive, you could defer your taxes. So basically, real estate moguls never pay gains on their real estate because they keep buying bigger and bigger and bigger units. And if you need money, you could take equity out of the units because they appreciate after you fix them up or if they're in good areas. So that's how you get into real estate. I always thought it wasn't worth it to get into real estate. I always thought, like, you had to put so much money in just to get some deductions, but now with Accelerated, it's different. Now you don't really have to put any money and you get that deduction right away, or deference, I should say. It's really deference. I mean, eventually you have to pay it unless you just keep deferring it forever. Yeah, the 1031 exchange. So if that property that you buy goes up by 50% in 5 to 10 years and you sell it, you're supposed to pay taxes on the 50%. But because of the 1031 exchange, you can then buy something that's just more expensive, and it's almost like you're trading it in. Again, you don't have to pay the taxes on the 50%. Anyways, a lot of it's just some of this I knew. It's just the accelerated one is new for me. I know for business vehicles, Section 179, business vehicles allow you to depreciate fully 100% in year one. That's why so many business owners drive G-Wagons or Urises or Range Rovers or whatever expensive big cars because of Section 179. OG, George, it's been a while. Many regret jumping in crypto due to groups trying to create FOMO, making it not healthy and making people regret. Be careful, don't fall on FOMO, be smart. Okay. Are you telling me that or my audience that? Because I kind of knew that. Basically, you always have cash on the side. If you have cash on the side, you never have to worry about not being able to buy the dip or DCAing. And DCAing is the ultimate strategy. That's it. New money broker says, honestly, I buy massive amounts of pump token. I think this is going to be one of the biggest moonshots of this cycle. I don't know. They have a lot of competition now, but they are the leaders of launching memes. So maybe you're right. I don't know. I still have to time my meme launch toward the end of this year. And it's going to be the greatest meme coin ever created. Have you guys heard of what, you know, a lot of influencers, they pay people to clip their videos for them. They call them clippers. I'm thinking about doing that. Because I don't, you know, like short form videos and stuff, I don't do a whole lot. And honestly, my team doesn't really have a lot of time to do that. I don't know how many of you guys would be interested in that. If you want to make some side money, you basically clip my videos or my Q&A specifically because I say a lot of random shit. And if you do that for me and get a certain amount of views, you get paid. If any of you guys are interested, I'm going to start that group in my Discord, so you guys should check it out. I haven't checked my website in a while. In case you guys are new, you join Discord by going to learn here or in the description of this video. And boot camp actually is going to start next week. Okay, so if you guys want to learn how to trade and not get liquidated, you should join boot camp. So in order to do so, you got to get in Discord too. But free Discord, a lot of stuff going on in there. I'm going to add in the clippings in there. And then the market dashboard obviously is here. DCA portfolio still looking healthy, plus 95%, even with the dip. Let me bring up my Discord right now. I added a few things in here. Rate portfolio, rate my portfolio. I haven't checked this in a while. 45% Bitcoin, 19% ETH, 1818 ADA sold. That's a pretty good. Conservative, but good. That's actually pretty good. Following pretty much the 50-25-25 rule. Except it's a little bit more in big caps. The Naked Chef has 40% SOL, very heavy in SOL. 15% XRP, 10% SUI Link, 8% ADA, 4% AVAX, 2% Engine, and 10% dividend over 26 coins. That's not bad too, except there's no Bitcoin in there. Unless this is excluding Bitcoin, but doesn't sound like it. You got to have some Bitcoin. Otherwise, you missed out on a lot of gains this year. The Discord link is in the description of this video. It's called Crypto Pulse Discord. If you're... I'm just going to pin it here, okay? Since a lot of you guys can't seem to figure out how to go in the description of this video. But there's so many others. If you want to discuss meme coins, general chat, technical analysis, I mean, a lot of charts in here. This is a good Discord. We got almost 2,600 members in here. And yeah, if you're interested in clipping and making some side cash, I'm going to start a channel in here called Clipping. And then you just join it, and then I'll share the details. I got to figure out how to do it and how much to pay. But I do want to get a lot of my clips out there. OG, for your audience, just warning the new people in the game. I appreciate it. I know you were. I wasn't trying to pick on you, but just trying to give you a hard time. But I appreciate it. Someone says, Kevin Sevenson made a meme coin and it dumped. Well, was it because he rugged or he just didn't know what he was doing? I think that's the biggest thing. A lot of people snipe it. A lot of people, you know, they get the contract address early. They figure it out. Like the new Kanye one got sniped by that Hayden guy again. So a lot of times it's not the person, but they just didn't know what they were doing. So I don't know. I do want to create a meme, but I'm afraid it might go wrong too. So I'm very cautious of it. Blog Miles, you know, this is not the time to be leaving the country for tax reasons. There are so many new tax breaks and tax cuts. Did you know there's something called Trump accounts now? I had no idea it's like a IRA account, but they call it the Trump account, where you could put $5,000 into an account pre-tax, and then I think after 50 or something, you get access to it tax-free, something like that. I'm no tax expert, but like I was looking at all the different things that have been enabled. There's a lot of crazy new things now. So basically my point is, don't try to leave the country to save on taxes. Just figure out how to take advantage of the system. You know, the loopholes that exist that have been created for you to deduct with. Can Europeans do clipping as well and get paid? No, it's for everyone. I want everyone, because all time zones, everything, in all regions. I want my clips to like circulate massively on Shorts, on Instagram Reels, on TikTok, of course. I want it to spread like wildfire. Is Big Red still alive? Matthew asked. Yes, they're, as far as I know, they're rebranding to Horse. They're going to launch soon. I don't know when, but they're a complete RWA play now. They're not really a meme. They have race horses, and they've been making profits with them. So they turned RWA. I just don't know the details on when they're going to relaunch, but you'll get equivalent tokens, so you're not going to lose it. I missed the period where we talk more about family and cars. What there's only so much you could say about family, and I still talk about cars all the time. I think my next car is gonna be a RS6. I just don't have any reason why I should be buying another car. Do you think the 4-year cycle is broken? Not completely, but I do think going forward, we will see a different cycle. I don't have another reason for a car. I have too many cars, nowhere to park, and no time to drive them all. Unless I can figure out to do really creative content on drivers only channel, it's not worth it. B Southtown, what's your favorite charity to help with extra money? You know what? I've never looked into charities because I've always heard they're all scams. That they, you know, the top brass of those non-profit charities make like hundreds of thousands of years and basically take all the money. So I've never looked into charities ever, but maybe someday. Do I use any software for live streaming? No, just OBS. OBS, that's all I use. It's free. It's a terrific software. Martin says, you don't donate for tax breaks? No, because I rather use the money on something that has potential to make me more money. That's how I see it. I don't like to just give away money or throw away money for the sake of just deductions, because you're only getting basically a third of what you're donating back, right? It depends on your tax bracket, but like, you know, it could be 30 or 40%, but still, I'd rather spend it on growing the business so that I could grow more. For example, paying people to clip my videos, where it helps grow the brand and me more rather than just give away money. I think September will be good, Juan. After the rate cut, I think the markets are going to start doing well. Last year, if you look at it, last 2 years, October was when things really started moving. So could definitely be again for this year. I don't know what a 5013C is, but I'm sure the payments to Clippers could be deductible already because their service, you're paying people to do a service for you, like consultants. Psychedelic Starling says, find a local wildlife rehabber or no-kill cat, dog shelter. These people spend a lot of time and their own money to help animals. You know, speaking of that, I've always had this thing, okay? I don't know how serious I am about it, speaking of animals, helping animals. Like, I imagine one day when I'm truly retired and I have more money than I know what to do with, my thinking is I'm going to buy a huge farm and then just take in dogs and cats and animals that people can't, you know, from the shelters or people that can't live with them anymore, right? And just raise them on this big farm. But then, you know, I was thinking, like, you know, if you wanted to go more than that, right, you can have cameras set up everywhere on the farm, and then you could have people make donations on the certain animals they want to help. And then basically that person doesn't have to be there. It could be worldwide, and they can look at their animals that they're helping 24/7 in their cage or you know roaming around. I always thought that was a good idea. It's not going to be a big. It's not supposed to be a moneymaker, but I think that's a good idea. Yeah, it's like a big sanctuary, and you could get, I mean, I don't know how many dogs and cats and stuff you could have there, but a whole bunch. Josh, I actually thought about that. Yeah, you know, when they're in the cage, you could. It's almost like Hunger Games, where you know you can like send in a treat or something. With the video idea, you could certainly do that. You know, you could hit a button, and then it like donates them a treat or something. All right, guys. Enough chit chat for today. You know what? Don't be discouraged, guys. Bitcoin may be down a little bit, but you know, in fact, if you look at the alts, they're actually doing really well, especially ETH and Sol still. And the market, you know, just kind of hang in there right now. Wall Street is still buying, right? We just have a little manipulation that we had to get through. Those mega whales, whatever they're doing, not good things, but we will get past it, and we won't remember this in the future. All right? Smash the like, subscribe to the channel. Make sure you join the Discord for all your crypto needs. All right. Take care, guys.